Dragonage Veilguard is a mediocre game that is being praised for tackling LGBT issues, when it completely removes you from the immersion of what is supposed to be a dark fantasy setting. Shoving real-world ideologies into the game without any care for the story or progression is just awful. And that does not include the awful design choices they made throughout the game with its weird Disney Pixar art style that again detracts from what is supposed to be a dark or a high fantasy setting. The combat is mediocre at best and is very sluggish. Gone are the companions that you can control to make it really feel like a tactical experience. Instead, it's been reduced to a simple controller button mashing experience with very little adjustment to do, because all the enemies pretty much are tackled the same way. There is no nuance or uniqueness to their attacks, and they all can be dealt with the same way. Not to mention, the difficulty increase only serves to make them sponges, as opposed to providing a unique difficulty increases throughout a complex set of attacks or movesets or abilities. The environment again takes a dive because of this weird art style. The map layout are really bad to navigate throughout. It feels like it's a previous game that was repurposed later into what it feels like something else that would definitely benefit to be a more looter shooter type of multiplayer game. All in all, the map feels like an Overwatch map rather than a fully fledged single player story with RPG experience. The NPC, the AI, the conversation, they are all incredibly boring, and the choices you have as a main character is bafflingly low. Like SkillUp's already said in his review that the conversation they have feels like an HR is in the room, and I completely agree with his statement. It's all linear with little to no choices. Only does in the end there have some meaningful choices, like in the last 2 hours of a 50 hours game. There is certainly a huge disappointment, as the game alone in terms of comparison between this and the previous iterations like Origins and Inquisition. But it's even worse when they are trying to shove these messages down to your throat without any care, without any tact or subtleties. It has no place in this game and serves no purpose but to satisfy the ego of the developers and to virtue signal how superior they think they are. I strictly do not recommend this game. Buy Baldur's Gate 3, a much better experience. Don't get me wrong, the gameplay isn't necessarily awful like many other games in this year. But this is marketed as a Dragonage game with 90% of the lore and depth missing from other games. It may well be just a spin-off for kids learning the controls and the world, even as an introduction. Even when the introduction is over, the game never feels like it truly lets you go to do something on your own. There is also no real reason for Rook to be in charge. Like, what authority, depth or story or growth do they have to earn this position? Varric just found this guy and he is miraculously great, and he is apparently very good leader. Let us compare with Alistair's growth in the previous game that allow him to be a capable warrior in charge. You feel and see him earn his place as a king. Another complexity that is missing so glaringly. Varric also does not mention Hawk, Why is that? I don't get it. There is a whole lot of over explanation as well, as if we are slow and don't understand the basic storyline or concept. It's so mind-numbingly boring. Like, it sounds like a teenager in a YA fantasy novel discovering and discussing their options so that you, the player, slowly learn apparently in order to follow along. The story puzzles are a bit of a joke and sound like Dora the Explorer is explaining it to you. Like, pick up the floating crystals with a marker, put it next to other markers to finish the puzzle. Like, what the hell is this type of puzzles? It feels very much like God of War Ragnarok type of puzzles, where the difficulty of those puzzles are frustratingly boring and a bit of a joke. There is far too much leading from other characters. Explorations to discover the next step is a great way to enjoy that game, but that doesn't exist here. Like how dark and gritty a dialogue with gore and violence from previous games have been watered down to a magnificent level. Like, I don't get it. I don't need you to shove in some rape scenes or some sexual content, but I do need the maturity of those previous games in terms of tone and atmosphere. These choices have no real consequences or real complexity. This isn't even a bad standalone game in its own universe. As a concept, it is not bad, but you're taking a wonderfully dark and beautiful series with questions of morals and ethics in your choices that you as your character has to live with, and making it assisted infantilized version that you would offer the player who just can't get past a PG-13's warning. Creatures or race appearance are also so random that in the character selection too, why do they swing their axes and hammers like an anime character? I don't get it. It's so Disneyfied. Like, if Prince Charming is in the game, I would not be surprised at all. To the people who are saying that anyone who hates this game is a neckbeard who hates woke agenda, no, they are really not. No one cares about an agenda shoved down to their face. The game Baldur's Gate 3 also have agenda, but it manages to be still a very good game in spite of those things. Like, Baldur's Gate 3 did an excellent job of having the world involved in the game without being an agenda that you must accept, or if you don't, you are a neckbeard. Additionally, this is something that was well achieved in a game like Witcher, which stood well as a standalone game including lore, but was able to hold on its own without holding the player's hand. How pathetic is to say that the real complaints and feedbacks are from close-minded people. This is a game, be who you want to be, but don't force it upon people. Also, they don't even mention Morgan's son after 3 full games building up to a backstory of old gods. Why are they wiping so much lore? This is in hand with so many writers wanting to put their own concept. Why can't just develop their own game at this rate? There was a real potential of this game to continue the Dragonage legacy, but it feels flat on its face. Like, I don't get it. Dragonage has such a potential after the first game. Like, first game was such a huge success. I don't get it. Why didn't they just build up upon that game? Like, the sequels, I wouldn't say the sequels are bad, but they were laughably, like, they are such a disappointment. Like, none of them are able to reach its full potential. I will not say that this game will put BioWares out of business, but if this is the type of quality we are going to get from onwards, I really do not want Mass Effect 5. That's it for today's video. Thanks for watching.